Okay. Hello, everybody. Uh, looks like we are live. Guys, let me know how the audio and the video is. Whether you can hear me, whether you can see me. Okay. There's a little bit of lag from my end on my computer, so yep. Just let me know how things are appearing for you. If there's any delays or any issues with the audio. You see there's a few people in the chats. We've got Angie here. We've also got Richard. Good evening, Angie and Richard. Good to see you. Also Yvette. And who else have we got here? We've also got Margaret. Good to see you, mate. Marg. And yeah, it's been a little while since I've actually done one of these workshops. It's been about a month since the last one. So I'm very excited to get started and basically go through a crash course on how to paint a basic sort of nature landscape. And this is a little scene that I've done in the past. And I want to just simplify it down for you guys and show you my entire process. But yeah, I'm just having a look to see. I'm just trying to check how everything is going with the chats, because there is, with the audio and the video, because there is for some reason a very slight delay on my end when I'm sort of seeing the video. So hopefully from your end, it's all okay. Alrighty. But guys, I just want to show you a few of my previous paintings to give you, I guess, a bit of a preview of what my style's like. So this is one from a previous workshop. As you can see, this is a little scene of Greece, Santorini. I've also got these sunflowers I did in a previous show as well. Quite a few different bits and pieces here, just to give you an indication of what my style is like. Okay, I've got about 60 viewers here. If you're new to Facebook, if you're new just watching along as well, just leave a message on the chats. Yes, I'm not sure what's going on at the moment. There is for some reason there is a delay on the live. Yeah, it's a shame because I'm quite sure what is happening. Yeah, I think there is. I mean, for a lot of people on Facebook, it seems to be going okay, but there seems to be a little bit of patchiness on YouTube. So yeah, you might want to go on to Facebook, okay, if there's some issues with the streaming here on YouTube. I'm sort of streaming to both. It looks like everyone on Facebook seems to be doing okay, but yeah. Anyway, okay, guys, I think the video is back and everything is running a bit more smooth. I don't know what happened before, but yeah, do let me know down below in the chats. Yeah, let me know if everything is going okay now. I just had to restart the program. For some reason, I don't know what happened, but it just sometimes when I start it up, it just goes a little bit funny and it gets really laggy, and yeah, looks like there was just a bit of a bug there, but it looks like we are back now. So thank you so much for your patience, everyone. This technical stuff really just does my head in sometimes. You prepare and then something weird just happens at the moment that you decide to actually go live. But look, the show must carry on. I'm just used to these things happening every now and then. But anyhow, these are a few of my paintings from mostly previous workshops. So I just wanted to show you a bit of my work. Again, I guess to give you an indication of what we'll be painting today, the sort of the style that we'll be painting in, okay? And this is a step-by-step workshop. So Kayla's asking, is it a step-by-step workshop? So yeah, I'm going to go through everything basically from the drawing all the way to the painting. Okay, and basically how the session will run today is I'm going to go through like I said, the entire step-by-step process. If you have questions as well during the live, just let me know down below in the chats. I've seen there's quite a few of you in the chats. You know, you can leave a message. I'll do my best to get back to all of you, especially, you know, while I'm live. I think that's one of the best ways to learn, okay, because I do check them. I do make sure that I at least try to answer some of your questions while I'm here live. And what I'll do at the end as well is I'll give you guys a bit of time to give me a bit of feedback, also ask a few questions, and I'll talk about a program that I have running as well. Okay, but this is basically, yeah, as you can see, this is basically my style. A lot of these photographs I actually took myself while I was on holidays in different countries. This is where I live, basically over in Melbourne. So you can see, you know, a lot of my paintings are quite sort of quick paintings. I don't take too long at all to do them. I usually spend maximum an hour and a half for each of these paintings. That's just my style. And yeah, even ones like this, really like sort of these simple beach scenes, just adjusting the light as well. You can see what is going on. Okay. But yeah, if you are new today, my name is Darren Dio. I'm a watercolor artist over in Victoria, Melbourne, Victoria, and I run these workshops usually once a month. Last month I actually ran, I don't know how many, I think I ran about like 10 or so workshops since the start of the year, probably more than that. But I went on a bit of a rampage there, but lately I've been doing them sort of once a month. Okay, but I think that gives you a bit of an indication. I can pull out all my paintings. I've got so many. I've got some that are really embarrassing as well. So if you guys are beginners, you're just starting out painting, what I ask of you is to do your best to make it all the way to the end of this workshop. Usually halfway through these workshops, I find people tend, you know, if they're going to drop out, they drop out during the center part of the workshop. That's because often they feel that the painting just looks a little bit too bland. There's not enough shadows. But once you put in the darker parts of the painting and some of these little finishing touches, you'll find that things really start to make sense. So make sure you stick through right to the end. And, you know, if worse comes to worse, at least you know you finished it and you've given it a good shot. Okay, that's where you learn pretty much everything, okay, through painting, just actually going through and completing the entire process over and over again, and sooner or later you'll be able to paint very consistently. So anyhow, I probably put some of these, I'll put these away. Probably the ones that we'll paint today might look a bit similar to this, the style that we've got here. Anyway, all right, it's been actually a little while since I've done a little sketch, a couple of little sketches since last month, but I've been quite busy, and so today will be interesting. But, you know, I use the same process in all of my paintings. So hopefully we can end up with something that looks a little bit like this in terms of the shadows, the trees, the branches. You know, we've got some people in there as well. And it shouldn't take us more than an hour and a half. So let's go ahead. I'm going to pick up the, just move all these paintings aside so we can get our actual... Jeez, we've got so much stuff here. Move this over to the side, and I've got a bit of paper here. This is cotton watercolor paper, and some people ask me as well, what materials do you use, Darren, for your paintings? So basically, you don't need too many materials. Like paints, for example, a lot of people think you need 10, 20 different types of paints. Look, you only need about 3 or 4 colors for most paintings. So if you've got a yellow, you've got a red, and you've got a blue, you should be good to go. All right, so I do have a bit of gouache as well, sort of transparent white watercolor gouache. That's a bonus finishing touch at the end to bring out some highlights. Okay, but basically just your 3 primary colors, you should do okay. And yeah, if you've got a brown, that's good as well. But the trees and you know, the trees you can just get in any sort of darker color, because if you look at the reference photo, the trees are basically pretty dark sort of color, generic dark color. So yeah, your 3 primary colors. If you can get artist grade watercolor paints in the future, you know, even if you manage to get 3 of them, it's better than getting, say, a set of 20 average watercolor paints, because you know you're not going to use all 20 of those colors. I mean, I've painted for so many years now, and I probably use about 6 or 7 different paints in most of my paintings, max. Okay, I've got a bunch of brushes, and I'm going to show you just the basic ones that you might need. I mean, you can really get by with 2 brushes in this entire painting, but I've got a few here just in case. So I've got a mop brush, watercolor mop brush. Now these are made of different materials. This is made of, I think, squirrel, but you can get ones of, you know, they're made of synthetic squirrel. Get ones made of Taclon as well. This is a company that sent me these for free actually last month, I believe. They're called Golden Maple. I'll put some link in the, I think there's a link somewhere in the description. But anyway, these are great little brushes, mop brushes. These are important so that you can get in large areas of color. So for the sky, for example, in this reference picture, we look in at the ground. Here are some round brushes, and the round brushes basically allow you to get in small details. So if you're looking at the trees, the little branches coming off the trees, maybe the people as well, and details on the people, little rocks in the ground. These are great. They don't hold much paint, but they allow you to get in a lot of detail. So yeah, if you're trying to paint large areas, these are pretty much useless. So that's where you use these mop brushes. As you can see, it's got a large belly, so it holds lots of paint in there. All right. Paper wise, what I'm using here is a bit of cotton watercolor paper. It's 100% cotton, and it's a medium texture. So if you look at it on the side, you can kind of sort of see it here on camera. There's a bit of a texture on there as well. That works really well with landscapes. Don't ask me why, but the paint just tends to disperse a lot better and more evenly when you're painting on completely hot press or smooth watercolor paper. I find that it does dry and consistently. Works great if you know what you're doing and you're more experienced. But for newer painters, beginner painters, I reckon stick with something that's got a bit of texture to it. Okay, if you don't have any of that sort of paper, you don't have cotton paper, you don't have the right type of paper, like I'm saying, right type of paper, but you know that's the ideal paper to use. Just use whatever you have. I think the practice is more important. Okay, I started out using, you know, all kinds of materials, but you know, when you're beginning, if you can get these materials, they're going to give you the best possible chance of succeeding in your painting, because sometimes when you're using substandard materials, that can lead to varied results and put you off, and I don't want that to happen. Okay, but let's go ahead and get cracking with this. And really, first thing we want to do is we want to get started on the drawing. Now, can you all see the reference photo on the top right hand corner of the screen? You should be able to see that reference photo, plus I've got it uploaded. I've sent out an email to all of you, so yeah, go ahead and bring up that reference photo on another screen or on the side of your screen, or you can just basically just look at the side of this video and use that reference. Angie's saying got no video on Facebook. On YouTube I got video and scratchy sound. Back to YouTube I go. Okay, how's everyone else going with the video and the audio? It looks okay from my end, everyone, but I hope it improves a little bit, Angie. It's always a little bit of a struggle sometimes to get everything, all the technical stuff running okay, especially when I'm streaming on 2 platforms. But look, I want to go ahead and get started. And remember, if you guys have any questions during this workshop, just go ahead and let me know. All right. Now, Yvette says it's okay. Fantastic. All right. So what we want to do in this reference photo is we want to find basically the simplest thing to draw first. And one of the easiest things to do, I'd say, in this scene is to find where the water in the back, you can see a bit of this beach, it connects on with the ground. It's around about the center, around in the center part of the scene, maybe just below the center part, like here. Okay, so I'm going to roughly find the center of the page. Okay, and I'm going to draw a line running across. Okay, I think for most people, even if you're a beginner, you should be able to locate the center of the page, draw a line across. I chose this reference photo for this particular reason. It just makes it a lot easier for you guys starting out. Sometimes you've got horizon lines that are a bit higher up, a bit lower down. This one's quite standard. Okay, now just above that line in the center of the page, you are going to notice that there is a kind of water line at the back as well. So I'm going to draw a bit of this water in at the back, just another line like that, running all the way through the back. Okay. Now this does not have to be perfect, but yeah, roughly in the center of the page should be right. In fact, I probably should have done this a little bit further down. Doesn't matter. It just means I'm going to have a little bit less sky. Okay. Now there is a bit of headland out the back, some rocks. I'm just going to draw a bit of an indication of that in like that. Okay. And that is basically most of your background. Okay. I did a little sketch of this before today. And you can see here, guys, this is such a simple little sketch. It took me like 2 or 3 minutes to do. Okay, you should end up with something like that. All right, a simplified sort of version like that. Okay, so I will now go ahead and let's do a little bit of this area in the front. There seems to be some shrubs here. You know, another tree here in the front. Okay, what else do we have? We have some trees. So remember, with these trees, they're just a vertical line. Okay, there's a vertical line running up like that, another vertical line running up like this. Okay, these smaller trees out there. And always remember as well, guys, that it does not have to be exact as per the reference. Okay, I do like to change things up a little bit. Okay, so I might actually shift this tree maybe a bit over here to the left. All right, like that. As long as I have, you know, one tree in the foreground here. Okay, one there. You know, got all these shrubs and stuff like that here. You've got these smaller trees. You know, there's one other tree that's running through, going up like that. They're just a vertical line like that. Okay. We've got some more vertical lines running up for the rest of these trees. Does anyone know where this is? Does anyone know where this is? Because I was trying to figure out where this reference photo was taken. If you zoom into like the little sign at the back, it says Oswald. What does it say? Oswald West. Oswald West. So that might make sense to some of you guys. I have a feeling this is somewhere in the States. But yeah, let me know if you do recognize this particular scene. I was trying to find and went on to Google image search to upload it to see if I could find exactly where it was. Don't know. But I do like this scene. And it's great because there's a lot of shadows that we can practice. Yeah, I guess getting shadows and stuff like that in as well. Really good to have a reference photo that has more contrasts in them. Linda says it's in Oregon. Been there a couple of times. Oswald West Park. Awesome, Linda. Knew someone might know this. It looks like a really beautiful park. Alrighty, so we've done the right hand side of the scene. Now remember, we don't have to draw in every single strand of grass, all this kind of stuff. When you're drawing for watercolors, this is something else to remember. You only want to get in like a plan, a little blueprint of what you're going to do when you paint. Okay, it's not like a drawing in itself where it has to, you know, stand up to scrutiny. It doesn't, okay? It just has to be a plan of where you want to pop the paint in, okay? So, what else do we have here? Put in a couple of rocks there, okay? You can put in a few rocks here and there if you want. I like to do this, this particular scene. Now, there are some puddles and stuff like that here. We're going to skip those puddles because I think for beginners, it's going to probably be a bit unnecessary, a bit too complicated perhaps. We'll skip that. What I want to do though is I want to just maybe make some more grassy areas, a bit more some more tufts of grass and stuff running around. This path that the people are walking on as well, I'm roughly marking out where that is. Okay, got the head of this person that's around about here. Okay, where the horizon, not the horizon line is, but where the water starts. They've got another person here to the left. Just put in the heads very quickly like that, but I'll probably redo this afterwards. The rock in the middle there. Let's put in some of these trees. Okay, there's a tree running up like that. Okay, run through the back there, and you can see these little branches just come out the side of the tree. Now, I'm just putting a few little lines there just to indicate where those branches are coming out. But when we end up going in with the watercolors, we'll actually detail these a bit more. Okay, but that's just a bit of a reminder for that tree. Okay, got this larger one here to the left, okay? And guys, look, as you can see, the spacing of those trees is not exact as per the reference, but with nature, the great thing about painting these sort of natural scenes is that you've got a bit of artistic license. I mean, you have artistic license with everything, but you are able to change things around without it really affecting the overall scene itself. You know, at the end of the day, a tree is going to look like a tree. If you're painting something like the Eiffel Tower, you know, different story there. You've probably got to take a bit more time to detail out particular buildings or landmarks, okay? But with these sort of nature scenes, I love them because, yeah, I can sort of, I guess, improvise, freestyle a little bit, and there's a sense of freedom, okay? And yeah, opposite of doing, for example, portraiture. You know, I do some portraits as well myself, but a lot of the time I don't quite enjoy it. Okay, because you just have to be so precise with everything, especially if you're trying to make a portrait look like someone in particular, which is like us, a lot of the time the purposes of a portrait. You know, doing a portrait of a person, you want it to look like them. But these trees, look at that, easy. Got 4 trees there. Okay, coming in. There's some green sort of grassy stuff here. Looks like there's also a tree running in from the distance, like the shadow of a tree. So I will get in and some of these little shadows running through the foreground, perhaps like this. Just indication, maybe have a shadow running there of a tree that's outside of the scene. Now there's someone actually sitting here. I didn't see this before. I'm going to put in that person just sort of sitting maybe on like a bench or something. It looks so subtle really, but there's a person just having a rest. And does anyone here like going on hikes and these like sort of treks? We do this a bit over in Victoria, and I absolutely love it. Just on the weekend, especially. I live in the city, which can be a bit overwhelming at times. You know, I tend to be a home sort of body person, and I spend a lot of time on my computer. So it's good, I think, just to get out into nature sometimes. And if you can bring your camera along, and everyone's got a phone, if you bring your phone along, you can actually take a lot of these photographs of whatever scene you want to paint and bring them home and turn them into paintings. So, and that's something I really recommend. It gets you understanding a little bit about composition, how to compose a photograph or a scene. Gets you thinking a little bit about that. And then you can come up with your own, I guess, original scenes. You know, I spend a lot of time going through looking for references on the internet, but at the end of the day, if you can take your own photographs, that's actually better. So I'm just putting in an indication of this person here. You can see she's got a backpack, and I think she's carrying like a boogie board or something. Is this a little boogie board maybe? I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, I'm just going to put in a quick little indication like that. I'm not concerned with getting in a huge amount of detail. Okay. Now the legs, if you simplify the legs down, they really just look like a triangle, don't they? Kind of like a triangle. There's a foot there. Okay. Like that. Trying to look like a triangle running downwards like that. So that's a person. Very simplified person, yeah? Angie says, looks like birch trees. Yeah, pretty, the birch tree, you mean the ones in the background? Yeah, maybe, yeah. Look, I'm no tree expert. You probably know better than me, Angie. Oregon is a hiker's paradise. That's a message from Linda. Yeah, that's look like a really nice place to go trekking, especially on the weekend if you've got a lot of time, you know. And it looks like quite well maintained as well in this photo. Let's have a look. Let's put in this other person. And these hikers, I mean, these trekkers or whatever, they got a lot of stuff on them, I have to say. And I don't want you to focus too much on the little details of them. Okay, just try to get in mainly the body, the legs. Okay, get in the legs and the main shape of the bodies of these hikers, the bodies of these hikers. But There we go. A couple of them there. You know, I'm really tempted to put in a third one. Really tempted to put in a third one, and I mean, look, we technically have a third person there, right? But how about I put one right here? Now, this is just a little composition technique, but essentially, if you divide the scene into thirds, and yeah, you can put like put figures or people walking right about the 1/3 section of the scene, like this, and I don't know, it just seems to look more interesting. Maybe just legs part a little bit more like that. It could be someone maybe just standing around, walking into the scene that's a little bit further back. Okay, so this, sorry, this is going to create a bit of depth, a little bit more depth in the scene. Okay, now apart from that, guys, I don't really see anything else that I want to draw. Have a drink of water. Talking too much. Choke on my tea. Okay. Right, so we've got the drawing in. Now, I want to add in perhaps a few more rocks. Now, you don't have to do this, but I want to add in some more rocks because the area in the front of the scene there, look, it looks decent, but just for my, I don't know, I just like to add in some rocks and things at times. You don't need to do this, but I find it sometimes can make things a bit more interesting, and you can get some small little shadows running through. Whether these actually stay on to the end, you know, it doesn't matter. Oh, I realized that she's got one of these hiking, what do you call them? Well, that's like a, you know, one of those poles that people use to sort of balance and stuff. I don't know, maybe something like that, then look a bit more, you know, like running down like that. Okay, let's have a look. What have we done with this person? Look a bit funny. The body looks a bit funny on that person, but yeah, doesn't matter. We are done. Okay, this is basically everything that you need to draw in. All right, so drawing for watercolors, like I said before, is not like doing a standalone drawing, a finished bit of art. This is a plan. So we only want to get in as much detail as we need. I don't want to labor over this, spend all day and stressing about all the little details. We want to get that in the watercolors. Okay, how are we all doing? Can you let me know in the chats how you are going so far? Do you have any questions about this, about the drawing, and do you need any help? Okay, I'm going to lower the brightness a bit on my light because I think it's just blowing out some of the details. I have to keep adjusting the light. Today's an overcast day and the sun is changing a little bit outside. I'm using my own light. Wendy says, looks great, fantastic. And Melanie saying, first time managing watch live. Thank you for sharing so generously. Welcome, Melanie. And yeah, like I said before, if you have questions, drop a question in the chat. And do your best, guys, to, you know, there's always that struggle stage in the middle of the painting that I noticed a lot of people drop out of these workshops and they give up in the middle of the workshop, okay, because they just don't see the shadows, they don't see the depth of it. But you need to stick around right till the end to make sure that you get in those shadows, a lot of those little finishing touches. And tell you what, if you can make it through to the end, you can prove to yourself that you can actually finish a painting. And so much of that learning comes from, you know, seeing the process through to the end. Sometimes you may not be able to execute that process 100% effectively or the way you intended, but that's where that learning comes across. So make it through to the end. That's all I ask. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the sky wash, okay? Now, what we want to do is that we want to paint all of the light in the scene first. So have a real close look at the reference picture and ask yourself, where is the light? Where are the lighter parts of the scene? So I'll tell you where, but you can drop it down. You can put some comments down below if you have an idea. The sky, lots of light in the sky. The ground, lots of light in the ground, in the grass, even on the left side of the people, lots of light on them, a little bit of light on the trees. Okay, whereabouts are the dark areas? Well, we've got some in the trees, we've got some in these shrubs and stuff here in the right, a little bit here on that bit of headland in the back, you know, and of course the shadows, right? So what I do in all my paintings is that I like to break this down into steps. The first step is to paint the light, okay? So in this first wash, I want you to make sure you're using predominantly water in your paint. So I like to use, you know, in this particular scene, I like to use probably maybe 10% paint, 5 to 10% paint, and the rest of it is just water. And, you know, it's one of those times where you actually, I find a lot of people think it just looks too light. It doesn't look like anything, okay? But you have to wait right till the end, like I mentioned before. So a bit of cerulean blue. This is a very light sort of blue, I suppose, that I use, okay? And look, I'm going through these trees, and you'll notice I'm trying to cut around them a little bit, but it's not a huge deal, okay? Now, there's some clouds here as well. So what am I going to do? I might just actually wet some of the edges here, just leave some white in the sky for some of these clouds, okay? A little bit of something there in the sky like that. Let's go through to the left-hand side. Remember, lots of water, lots and lots of water. This is going to, remember, it needs to be, you need to capture the light in the scene. And the only way you're able to do that in watercolors is to use more water when compared to paint. Now, down the bottom, you notice things get, there's a little bit of gray in here. So I've actually mixed up a touch of gray. And gray is a very easy color to mix because it's a combination of all of your other colors. Okay? So I just pick up whatever little bit of muck I have left on the page, on the palette, sorry. And then I just drop it in there at the bottom. It's such a light mixture. Okay? But I just want to just imply a bit of that gray down at the base. Okay? A little bit of that. Simple. We've got some clouds. We've got a bit of that blue sky up the top. Might add in a touch more blue up there because I've maybe lost a bit of it. Because I just want to imply that, really want to imply that blue in the sky a bit more. Okay. There. Here, maybe there. And you know, again, you do have some artistic license to change things around if you want. So there we go. Let me just lower that light a bit as well. I think the light outside is actually just so bright. Kind of blowing out the scene a bit. I might change the ISO on my camera just to lower the brightness slightly. I think that might be a bit better for you guys. You can see. Good, good. Yvette doing well. Chris from the PNW. Whereabouts is that, Chris? Sure that. And cheer to 950 says, no, those are redwood or fir. Birch doesn't grow on the coast. Yeah, usually with birch trees, I thought they have a kind of pattern on the bark, yeah, like a very distinctive pattern. I've seen people paint them before. Got to leave out a lot of white on the scene. Okay, now we've got the sky. Here goes the water. Let's add in a bit of the water. Now, one of the things with the water, if you have a look at it, basically there is whatchamacallit, the water is a little bit darker at the back. I'm going to just darken a bit of that back section of the water, like that. Okay. Try not to let it run into the sky, but if it does, it's no big deal. Some parts of the sky are just still kind of wet, and so you can see the part that run a little bit. Okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut across the water and leave out some bits of white. Okay. And those bits of white will just signify, you know, the frothy kind of waves that you see. And with watercolors, when you're trying to paint white, the best way to paint them, in my opinion, is just to leave it out completely. Okay? Leave it out completely. Some people like to use masking fluid. I don't bother with it because for me, it's just another step that is a bit annoying. But I see the point in using it at times, because if you really want to get that sharp white contrast, works well. Another way you can get in those whites later is you can also just get in some gouache, some white gouache. But this is just what I'm doing. That's all you need to do, okay? Bit of the water at the back, at the front, just leave it, okay? There are actually maybe some slightly darker areas of water there in the back as well. I can just drop in a bit more paint here and there. I mean, it's really not a huge deal. As long as that water is darker than the sky, you'll be good, okay? Just needs to stick out of the sky a bit. So that's why I sort of pause for a little bit to try to let the sky dry a touch, then go in with the water, so I get a bit of more sharper line. Now, let's have a look. What else do we want to do? Well, we have got these trees. We have got this headland out the back. I'm going to pick up a bit of brown. But I'm going to check the chat, see what you guys have to say. Angie's asking, how do you know how to space out the trees? I struggle with the hikers. Space out the trees. How do you know how to space out the trees? That's a good question. I'm really just copying the reference photo for most of this anyway. But what I find in nature is you know, things sometimes grow. Should I put it? There's a bit of randomness, I suppose. If you put all the trees running up in one direction with the same exact space in between them, it does happen in nature sometimes. Okay, but if you I guess create too many predictable patterns, it starts looking too put together. So look at this tree. I've kind of made it curved over to the left and right a little bit. These two here are, you know, there's a space in between, but this space is larger than that space, you know. So I just wanted to create a bit of disruption in there, and that will make it look more interesting. Okay. I also placed the trees kind of in areas of the painting where you kind of got the thirds, using the rule of thirds again, just to sort of put the interesting parts of the scene or focal points in these sort of third sections. All right. A lot of this stuff, composition-wise, I think you're talking about, Angie, as well, is it takes a bit of trial and error and practice to know what works. Riz is asking, what brand of watercolors is good buy? I don't use masking fluid. Love watching from Manila. Thanks, Rizza. Look, in terms of watercolor paints, here we go. The sky's gone darker again, so I'm going to have to adjust this. This is a real funny sort of day, isn't it? So Rizza, I use all kinds of watercolor paints. So I basically have Schminker, I've got Holbein, I've got Mugello, I've got, what do I have? I've got a few other brands that are not really well known, but they're just artist grade watercolor paints. Okay, you can get a few of those, you're good. I find a lot of these watercolor paints, they're more similar than dissimilar anyway. So don't like stress yourself too much about I guess like getting lots of different paints, but look at getting 3 good quality paints. I think Holbein's pretty good. I'm not sponsored by any of these companies, by the way. There was a company called Paul Rubens that sent me some of their watercolors. They're pretty good. They've got an artist watercolor set that comes at a really reasonable price for beginners. But yeah, Winsor & Newton, they're pretty good as well. There's a brand in Australia that we use called Art Spectrum, I believe. Yeah, Art Spectrum. Yeah, just try to get 3 decent brand of artist grade watercolors. Better than getting 20 that are average. You only need 3 colors. So I'm just mixing up a bit of brown here on my palette, a little bit of brown, and a bit of green. Okay, I'm just going to try to get in these. What you got here? This like thing in the back. Bit of yellow ochre as well, maybe for this. See this building? Not building. What am I talking about? This bit of headland out in the back. I'll just put in a bit of yellow here. That, and I'm gonna go in also with some green and brown, just to put in this little indication of that distant headland, whatever it is. Okay, I want to simplify this particular scene down. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Now we've got some yellow. I'm just going to put in a bit of yellow here. Okay. And you might be wondering, why am I putting in all this yellow? It's actually green. It's actually whatever. But yellow anyway mixes in with, you know, when you add in any blue or green, turns green anyway. All right. But the advantage of using some of this yellow here is that it starts becoming, you sort of capture a bit of light. And you capture some of these nice warm hues, okay? That once you start putting in the greens, it can be difficult to capture some of them because greens just melt into the, just turns everything green. Like if you put in blue, for example, it just turns everything green. So I like to drop in a bit of that yellow sometimes first, and then add in some more greens or blues on top of that, and then whatever I want to turn green, I can do, make it turn green. So yeah, bit of yellow, and of course, you know, here we go, a bit of green again. What green am I using? Some of you might be asking. I'm using a green called undersea green, but it's really just any darker green. You can mix one up yourself. If you've got your blue, ultramarine blue, and a bit of other color, a bit of yellow, you can turn that into something as well. Okay? Really watery mix, guys, as you can see. A lot of this is just very watery. And these days I've been trying to, I guess, transition over to a more subdued palette. I used to use a lot of vibrant kind of colors in my paintings, but I've changed it over now, and I just want to simplify my palette down. So some yellow here. I've actually got some titanium white. I'm going to drop in some titanium white into this area, especially out the back. I just want to get in a bit of something here for this bit of brown and a bit of titanium white. I'm trying to match this. I don't know what it is, the color of these rocks here in the ground. It looks like it's been added by the park for some, what you would call it, some gravel and stuff for people to walk around. Okay, look at that. I'm just dropping this color in and stopping at the water. Okay, so remember, don't go in the water. Let it sort of create a nice sharp edge there. Okay, like that. And lots of water as well in your wash, so that you have got, yeah, just a lot of these light. You preserve the light by doing this. Okay, notice I'm also leaving some bits of white on the page. All right, so I'm just dropping this in. If you want a more vibrant yellow, I find mixing a bit of, what you would call it, this color here, it's Hansa yellow. Okay, look at that, bit of Hansa yellow, and suddenly we've got this pop of saturation. Okay, I don't want to overdo it though. Like I said, these days I really like to make my paintings a little more subdued and let the beauty of the subject and the contrasts of the light and dark really show through more. But a little bit of, why not put in a bit of this yellow there as well. Okay, and look, see how I'm just letting everything just mix together? That's what you want to do. It's all just one big wash. Okay, that's more brown. Maybe let's pop in a bit of brown in here. Okay, so all just mixes together. There we have it. We've got the foreground pretty much done. I'm going to add in a few more bits and pieces into the foreground in just a moment. And that's basically a technique that I use called wet into wet. But before that happens, let's put in a bit of yellow for the trees. Tiny bit of yellow for the trees. Now, by this time, the trees would have kind of dried. Now, what this means is that when I start putting in a bit of this yellow for the trees, it will not spread into the sky and cause a gigantic mess. So that's why I've got left it in for this time. When you're painting watercolors, you find that at times the timing, the timing that you do things is so important. You do this before, it's going to just go into the sky, cause an absolute mess, and probably stress you out. Because the sky is dry, check this out. Nothing, right? In the reference photo, there's actually not that much light. There's not much yellow on these trees. I'm trying to emphasize this yellow a little bit, okay? And in a moment, we'll actually put in some of the darks, but we'll leave that right to the end, okay? Just want you guys to get in a bit of yellow for those trees, so just to get rid of the white of the paper, okay? But again, you can leave a bit of white there. You see just little speckles of white and stuff like that. All right, let's have a look at the figures. Now, so far I've painted everything with one big brush, okay? That's all you need to do. All you need to use at the moment. One big brush for everything. And I'm going to put in some colors for these figures while we have, just to buy a bit of time, just some colors for these figures. Come to think of it, actually, should probably extend this out just like this. Bit there, more in the back end. Yep, that's better. Okay, I want to extend that out to the back a bit more because I've noticed that rock. Nice sharp sort of line out there where the water starts. All right, so the pants of the figures, this figure here is kind of like a off yellow color, yeah? So, I don't know, let's just put in a bit of something there, a bit of color there. It doesn't matter too much, okay? Just as long as you got some color in. Maybe she's got her blue shirt or something like that. You know, let's put in a bit of teal or something in there, yeah? This board, this boogie board or whatever is kind of like a bluish color. I'm going to drop in a touch of that blue, okay? Let it all blend in, okay? The backpack, what have we got in the backpack? We've got a bit of red, all right? This is slightly darker than the rest of the wash, but it doesn't matter so much, okay? Just some color to get rid of the white, okay? Give that figure a bit of interest. Now, because I've not used all too many colors in the rest of the scene, you'll notice that the colors pop out a little bit more on the figure. So it's a little technique, a little decision I make that helps to create more interest in parts of your scene. Because if you use very vibrant colors in all areas of your painting, you're going to find that it's going to be hard to draw attention to certain aspects, certain areas of the painting. So, because we've got a lot of warm colors in the background as well, see lots of yellows, even those greens are kind of like warmer greens. You'll notice that the figure, the person really stands out because you've got that contrast between warm and cool colors. Okay. Warmer colors being like reds, blues, not blues, geez, what am I talking about? Reds, yellows, that kind of thing, oranges. And I'm already just trying to put in a little bit of contrast on the right-hand side of the figures. Now, this is one that I just made up, so I don't know what I'm going to do here. Maybe just put a bit of yellow there. Again, a bit of contrast, some blue. Maybe a bit of blue for the shirt there. Okay, there we go. Look at that. Just a few brush strokes is all you need to imply that person. There's even a person here that's may disappear later. I actually kind of put that person in there hoping that would just make the scene look a bit more interesting. It kind of looks like a person, doesn't it? A little bit. Okay. A little bit like a person. Okay. Let's start doing some interesting stuff with the grass and putting in some texture before all of this wash below dries. Now, I have got myself a little, whatchamacallit, pocket knife here. This helps to scratch out some paint. All right. But before I do that, what we want to do is pick up a bit of darker green, darker paints, and just drop them into some areas. Like, check this out. I'm going to drop in a bit of paint to these areas. Now, these areas, they have not dried yet. And little secret as well. I use this thing here, which is, it's a little, call it spray bottle. Issue as well. Notice that part of this painting is just running a bit up the top. I'm just going to get rid of that run. Okay. All right, so this is just a little spray bottle. I'm going to just spray that section to just re-wet some parts like this. Okay. I'm going to feather in a bit of darker color in here to add some contrast to all this stuff. Okay, because we've got a lot of light in there, but we don't have any sort of darker bits of grass and shrubs. Okay. And how I do this is, it's very difficult to even explain exactly how I do this. It's just flicking a bit of paint here and there. And while the paper is still wet, you've got to do it while the paper's still wet. Okay. And you can see I've just sort of gone over the top again. I have another brush that I sometimes use as well. Just it's kind of helps me to do this faster. Two small brushes. This is a rigger brush and also a fan brush. Now they just allow me to get in these brush strokes faster. Don't have to do this, but it's just something to do. You notice some of the grass may appear a bit sharper. Okay, doesn't matter. That's actually a good thing. You want to maximize, I guess, the different kind of brush strokes in here. It makes it look interesting. The grass isn't actually this. It's actually pretty whatchamacallit, trimmed this park, so that's pretty yeah. And here as well, you know, I'm bringing some across there. You don't need to do that. It's more sort of around the left hand side. You know, this is just adding in a bit of texture, a bit of interest, because you know, I've noticed that this area is a bit flat. A lot of this area is kind of a bit flat, so some of this stuff will just make it look a bit more interesting. So that's another kind of alteration I like to do sometimes on scenes. Yeah. Okay. Something like that. The page is still wet. The paper is still wet. So when you pop that in, it's just going to melt in nicely. Fingers crossed anyway. It melt in nicely. Now, you notice that some of these shrubs and things have a bit of light on them as well. So this is where this little thingamo comes into play. I've got another little pocket knife, or if you've got a credit card or like some sort of, if you've got some sort of card, you can use it as well, like a plastic card. Okay, putting in a little bit of color for some of these rocks. Okay, maybe on the right hand side of the rocks as well. A little bit of something there on the right hand side of some of these rocks. You know, there's even a rock here in the background. Look at that. Just might as well get that in here as well quickly while I have a bit of time to do so. We can do this later, but just as you can see, we're starting to add in. We're starting to go into the second part of the scene where we are adding in the darker areas of the scene, the darker parts. This is where things start to take shape. Okay. Now, little technique, scratching out some grass, okay, using a little blade that I have here. Yeah, you don't have to do this, but this is just a little thing that I like to do to add in more contrast and detail. In watercolors, every little mark like this does help to imply what's going on. You can see this, you know, it's revealing that yellow. You see that? It's revealing a bit of that yellow that I painted in before in that first wash. Okay. Scratching out, be pretty intentional with this, and this works better if you just let the paper dry a little bit as well. Okay. Some here. And I'm just doing this so that there's a bit of texture. This looks a bit more interesting in some areas. Okay. Don't really have to bother all too much with it, but something like that should be good. Look at that. Trying to just imply this yellowy shrub in the front. All right. At this stage, everything should look pretty light, okay, apart from maybe some of these background areas here and there. And this is where I was telling you guys to make sure you hang around to the end, because, you know, a lot of people give up at this stage. You know, this is the stage that I used to give up and say to myself, it's done. It's done. It doesn't look anything like the reference. Where's all the light? Where's all the shadows? Looks terrible. What we have to do is we have to get in some of these darker sections of the painting. So have a look at the painting, have a look at the reference photo, and tell me whereabouts do you see the dark colors. We went through this exercise before, but you can see on the, for example, the trees. The trees need to be darker, don't they? What else needs to be darker? Well, we've got some shadows, maybe some details on the figures, some of the rocks and details there. So we are going to, hopefully this dries off a bit faster, but we can work on the stuff to the left. Now let's mix up a dark color. Okay, now I've got brown, so I'm going to use some brown. You don't have to use this color though. You can use all your primaries mixed together. Now, if you've got a bit of yellow, blue, and red, mix them together and you can get a really nice sort of dark color that you can use. Now, I'm using a bit of purple mixed in with brown. Yeah, this should do the trick. Okay, just a really dark color. And before, when I was saying we're using 10% paint, we are now using how much? Don't know. Probably about 50% paint. Yeah, 50% paint to 50% water, if not more. Okay. Now I'm using this little round brush to go and put in the details of this tree. Okay. Now look at that. I'm trying to hopefully get this in a few brush strokes, right? And notice how I'm doing this pretty quickly as to leave some of the previous wash behind. Okay? And the previous wash meaning this yellow. The yellow is going to give us this indication of light. Super important to do. Okay, down at the base, you do have some little bit of shadow there, and go a bit darker, perhaps a little bit darker. Yeah, you know. But this is a technique. I'm using a technique called dry brushing, which is where you get a bit of that texture, as you see there on the tree, and it works very well if you're using what you may call it, not hot press, textured paper. Okay, that's why I always suggest using textured if possible. Okay. While I'm doing this, I'm trying to put in some of these branches, and this is why I say don't spend too long drawing them in pencil. Save your efforts till later, because you're going to have to go over and do them anyway, like you see here. Check this out, okay? In my mind, I'm thinking to myself as well, how can I paint these in with the fewest amount of brush strokes, yeah? With watercolors, it's very easy to overwork your paintings. So if you consciously tell yourself, hey, this is a branch, I'm going to get it in with a couple little brush strokes, you know, it will look more like a branch than if you labor over it and spend all day. Okay, these edges are a little bit too rough, but see how I'm just leaving a bit of light on the left side? Okay. Starting to look like a tree, isn't it? What do you guys think? I think it sort of looks like a tree. Okay, sort of looks like a tree. Okay, down below, let's just, again, bring this tree down to the base. All right. This is working because this area is already dry. Okay, got a few of these little branches coming out there as well to the left. I really like these trees. Are quite interesting looking, aren't they? There we go. We'll just hold the brush at the end. See how I'm just holding that brush at the end? Some of these branches are that one's a bit longer. We'll just make that one a bit longer. Okay, what do we got? Another one here, here. You know, the moment it starts to look good, I really recommend stop, because you can really stuff it up if you're not careful, especially if you're a beginner. So if it starts looking like a tree and you're looking at it and you're satisfied with it, just leave it be. I used to be a very, very meticulous sort of painter, and I'd spend ages on doing one thing, and it works very well if you're doing portraits. On these kind of landscapes, especially if you're a beginner, you don't want to spend all day doing this. You just want to spend enough time so that you can imply what's going on. Okay? That's very dark paint, as you can see. I want that right side to be a little bit more sharper, like that. All right. I mean, there's barely any shadows on these ones on the right anyhow. So I can just go in. Let's have a look. Some more of these little branches coming out. Yeah, it's an interesting looking tree. I don't think we really have trees like this in Australia. You can see these tiny little like branches. I don't know, there's the tree. Is it like autumn or something like that? And they've drop their leaves and on the branches, or maybe they've, I don't know. It does look interesting. I like these. It's always great to try something new, something like a new little reference or something that's a little bit different. I didn't do that tree so well, but yeah, it does work okay. Okay, as long as I not overthink it. That's the biggest thing for me. Just draw a branch in with one brush stroke. Okay, look at that. I've done the trunk in just one swoop, like that. Easy. Okay, next. Dry the brush off. Let's continue doing this. You only have one go at this. Well, I mean, you can have a couple of goes, but like you want to try to just have one go with this. Okay. Point is to not labor over it, and you end up with a nice painting at the end that just looks like everything just came together magically. But actually, you spent a lot of time trying to figure it out along the way. Watercolors is a lot harder than people think, but you've got to let it paint itself at times, you know? You've got to learn to let go and realize that you can't aim to get everything perfect, okay? It's going to do what it wants to do at times, and you help facilitate. You just help facilitate what's going on, okay? I thought I might join a couple, see some more branches here, because, I don't know, just thought I want to do that. Again, artistic license. I'm trying to darken a bit more on the right-hand side of these trees. I've stuffed that tree a little bit. Doesn't matter. Make a mistake as well. Just move past it. Move past the mistake and say, look, I'm just going to turn that into something else. I'm just going to leave it. If you have that frame of mind, you'll do very well. Watercolors. There's a question from Diane. How you going, Diane? Do you ever use rough textured paper? I only use cold pressed 100% cotton paper. Look, Diane, cold pressed will get you by for most things. I don't really use rough textured paper because I find with getting in details, it's quite tricky. Cold press is a good sort of middle ground between, you know, between this sort of rigid sort of hot press paper where you can't really get in decent sort of nice smooth washes, and then with rough that, you know, at times if you're not careful, we can just really eliminate detail. So yeah, I think you made a good choice there. I also tend to go with cold press. A lot of professional watercolor artists as well, yeah, I notice, yeah, they stick with that cold press. Okay, so here is that tree, and I am just trying to get it in here. Cut around that, you know, see this nice little shrub there. I don't want to stuff that up. Just want to put in a bit of that shadow of the tree to the right. Since we're here, I'm going to just, you know, put in that shadow like that. Okay, it does look a bit like that. See, a little bit of that shadow to the right there. We're all good to go. All right. Now, because I've put a rock here, I will make that rock, a bit of that shadow run to the right and touch that tree a little bit. That left side of that tree. So this little shadow here of this rock. Okay. Connecting these shapes, and this contrast here, make that light pop out on the left side of the tree a bit better. Start doing some more of these rocks a little bit more. There, you know, start gaining a bit more confidence as you go. There is these tables and stuff here. Look, I don't want to spend all day doing this. I'm just going to simplify this down, okay? The person sitting there, I really don't care. I'm just going to simplify it down as much as I can. Right? The longer you spend on this as well, you can get in lots of little details. But for the purposes of this particular, workshop, I'm going to simplify it. Right. Bit of lagginess happening on the stream again. I don't know why it's doing this. I don't know why it's doing this, guys. It's 7 Okay, I've just restarted. So there's still some issues. Yeah, there are still some little issues for some reason. I'm not sure what's happening. Do bear with me. Apologies for this. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think the stream is running okay now. Yeah. Apologies for that. There's just some issue with the software. So, yeah. Please confirm in the chats if everything is running okay for you. Yeah. Really frustrating today, but thank you all for your patience. I had a really good run for the last 20 or so workshops, no issues, and then suddenly you update the software and get this sort of thing happening. But look, I've got about 60 of you still here. Let's continue on. Let's get in some details for the people, the figures, all that. So a little bit of detail for the legs, okay? Some darkness here, the legs, okay? And let's have a look. That this person here to the right, okay? The legs, okay? Running downwards like that. You know, all these stuff that they're carrying as well. It's kind of like what I was mentioning before. You don't have to bother all too much with all the little details. Just get in a bit of darkness on the right hand side of the figure to just indicate that the light is coming in from the left. Okay, the big thing. Okay, the light source, so important. Leg here, probably not the best figure that I've painted, but does all right. This one's a bit better, the one to the right. Back a little bit to see. There we go. Couple the legs running downwards like that. Good. The arm or something there. Put in a bit more detail for the figure later on as well. Look, a bit of darkness on the right hand side of the figure to indicate, like, yeah, again, the light source coming in from the left hand side. And we're going to do all these shadows in one go. So I'm going to mix myself up some different paints. I've got some purple and a bit of brown again. Okay. And I'm going to just try to join this shadow on with the bottom of this tree here. Okay. And we're making all the shadows run in one direction. So check this out. On the ground, running across the ground in the back. Okay. And of course to the right hand side like that. You know, you might have another bit of shadow running like that perhaps. This shadow of this tree, check this out. It's just running across the ground. And I'm doing this hopefully just one big movement like that. There. Oops. I probably should run up the tree a bit there. That should be okay. We've also got these trees here running out the back. There's a bit of shadow running to the right side of these trees too. Okay, a little bit of something there. Now, something I really wanted to do was get in like some other shadows of imaginary trees in the back, perhaps running through this scene like that. Okay, that's one maybe there, and of course the shadows of the people. All right, so there, and a bit more darkness here. Just join up the legs a bit like that. Okay, so a really large shadow, doesn't it, to the right? But you can see here, even this little walking stick or whatever like that, connect that all up, okay? I'm going to use a big mop brush to get in a larger sort of shadow shape here in the foreground as well. Now this could be a fatal mistake for me, but I just want to do it to make it look more interesting. Okay. Some of this stuff, as you can see, I'm kind of just making up a bit along the way, right? The idea of this is so I can get in some better contrasts. Okay. These trees also have some branches that go off on a tangent and stuff like that. So I'm going to get in some of these sort of squiggly marks here and there. Okay. Good, good, good. What else do we have? Okay, so I reckon probably, again, these little rocks. This is a good time to just pick up some dark paint and get in some of these little rocks, okay, for your finishing touches. Okay. By this point, you should be looking at your painting and thinking it's with the contrast, if you're getting in all these light and dark contrasts like I'm doing here, it should start looking a bit more like the reference photo, okay? Now I'm just putting in a little bit of these dark marks and things here and there. Okay, I've actually, maybe that could be a rock there as well, here. Here, right? Just one quick little mark. It could put a rock here even, yeah? There. Why am I doing this? Well, you see these shadows, it's just helping me sort of join the shadows together a little bit, okay? To create a bit of continuity between everything, okay? And also, I guess, create a bit of distinction between foreground and midground, okay? Because in the foreground, you might have a bit more of these little details. They're not here in the reference photo, and some of you might think you've been to this area and there's no rocks lying around like that. You don't need to do it. It's just I guess what you call it, just a personal decision I wanted to make to add a bit more contrast, okay? More interest running through into that scene, okay? So we are pretty much at the end stage, almost at the end stage. I've forgotten one thing though. Check out these trees. I've forgotten to put in some of these trees in the back. Let's do that. There's one there, one going up the back like that. Okay, what have we got here? We've got another one here. Check this out. It's just a few lines, a few little marks on the page, on the paper that will get those trees in. And obviously there's a lot of little like, leaves and things that I'm just going to put in quickly. Just a little bit of something in there. Okay. Few brush strokes, that's all I need. Okay. Quick little sporadic brush strokes. Might actually add in here a little more of these kind of funny branches that you see kind of popping out of those other ones. A bit like this. And often at the end of these workshops, I will go through and add in a touch more detail here and there. Oh, okay. A little bit of white gouache. Okay. But let's, I'm going to scratch off a bit of this paint as well in here. Why not just scratch some little highlights and things like that. Quick little watercolor paint. And I use this to bring back some tiny little highlights in the scene. Okay, tiny little highlights in the scene. White gouache, opaque watercolor paint. All right, bit of highlight to the left of these figures. Right. Shoulder, maybe a bit of, mixing a tiny bit of yellow with this white gouache to turn it just a bit more of a goldeny color. Okay, it's goldeny sort of color. Let's have a look. Maybe here on the left side of the figure, more of that gold sort of highlight. Maybe here on this figure there on the left hand side. Yeah, okay. Very, like I said, like a really quick indication of that highlight. figures. Linda's asking, I didn't have the road put in. Can I add it somehow? You can. You can use a bit of gouache, a little bit of like light gouache to put it in. Okay, if you've got a bit of white gouache, just mix in some grey with it, and you, at the end, you can potentially bring it back. But I suggest a lot of the time, yeah, if it's a big compositional change that you didn't put in, or compositional decision, try to work with what you've already decided. Okay, we can start again later on as well. Okay, a little bit of this gouache as well. Check this out. I pop it in with the rocks. See how these little rocks are here? They have a tiny bit of maybe reflected light from the left. Okay, check this out. A little bit of that, I don't know, something like that. And I can just sort of get it in very quickly. Get in an indication of some of this light on the left-hand side. Don't have to do it. But I, just wanted to make a bit more, something more interesting running through there. Okay. So let's dry this off, take off the paper and see how what we've ended up with. Alrighty, so here we are, everyone. We have finished, and do hang around to the end because I want to talk about a special program, a special watercolor program that I have running at the moment. And I'm also going to give you an opportunity to ask me some questions, give me a bit of feedback about today's session as well. Let me know how you went and how you found today's session. Would like to hear how your scene turned out too. Very sort of nice little scene. I like it. I like the light. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just switch over and I'm going to go and talk about this program that I have running. So if you're still around and yeah, just stick around a little bit. I'm going to swap over. Give me one moment. Got to find it here. Where is it? Yeah, but as you can see, the shadows, as you guys are saying, the shadows really make such a big difference. And, when people do these workshops, I always notice there's a big drop off in the center because they just give up. But you have to put in those shadows and you have to be confident with putting them in as well, because that is really going to make your scene come to life. It's going to make it look more believable than if you, yeah. I think it's a error that I think a lot of beginners make, just trying to paint things all in one value. Okay, got to be brave. You got to just get in all those different colors, different values. Now, just trying to load up a little presentation I have, guys. But yeah, let me know in the chats how you went today. And yeah, basically just some final questions as well. Really interested to hear how you went. Yeah, trying to get some of this stuff to load. Unfortunately, I don't know what's going on today, but things have not run very smoothly in this particular live. Okay, I might get started on this little presentation. Yeah. Righto, I'm going to switch over. But finally, this has been a bit of a funny day. Okay, so guys, this is a little, I guess, a program that I've had running for a really long time now. I think I've had it running for about, I don't know, like 2.5 years. Okay, so this is basically my 70 course program that I call the Watercolor Essentials program. And it's something that I've run and basically put in a lot of effort into. I've added in basically 70 different courses, and a lot of you may have felt this way about your painting, you know, and I've certainly felt this way when I started, frustrated. You know, the frustration a lot of the times just comes from you looking at a reference photo or just having an idea of a painting in your mind and thinking to yourself, I want to create this, but I just don't know how to get to that end result. What's the process? Kind of like what we talked about today, where we were painting the light and the dark, that kind of thing. You know, when you start off, you really have no idea and you're just trying to imitate it. Okay. But you do need a process. You know, another way I think a lot of beginners and my students, when they first start off, they having trouble understanding that process, like I mentioned before. Okay. Mixing, layering paint. You know, have you guys ever tried to mix your paints together, and even on paper or on the palette, and just ended up with just a mess, complete mess? This has happened to me tons and tons of times. Okay. You know, here's a few other issues I find that's pretty common with a lot of my students as well. So getting really bogged down in the details, struggling to loosen up your style, you know, seeing those same results as well and losing patience, or worse, losing confidence. And, you know, that's the worst thing, because I think, you know, at the end of the day, if you can keep yourself entertained and keep yourself motivated through your painting, you slowly improve and sort of work out a process. And, you know, here's another one, you know, questioning if painting is for you, whether you've got any artistic talent at all. You should have seen my paintings. I mean, here's an example of a painting that I did about 2014. You know, I was on the verge of just kind of giving up, you know, at painting stick figures, trees. I mean, if you look at the trees that I painted today compared to these ones, big difference, right? Took me 8 years to get to this stage, but it doesn't have to take you that long. Okay, I didn't have a process that I was following. And Diane here in the chats on YouTube, she started. She's one of my students in the Watercolor Essentials program, so she just comments, says, great class today and great program. I've only just started the Watercolor Essentials program, but loving it. Fantastic, Diane. And yeah, just reach out to me if you've got questions as well. Yeah, if you've got questions about, get stuck in between the course and things like that. So, yeah. And, you know, deep down, dreaming of being able to produce those beautiful paintings you can be proud of. And this is achievable for you. You know, you may not believe it now, but painting is a process just like any other process. You know, like if you're learning to play tennis, if you think about something that you've started to learn, any other thing in life, you realize in the beginning it's really difficult. You don't see much progress. Now, imagine if you could understand those essential steps that you need to create a beautiful painting. So some of those steps I taught you today, okay? Drawing, painting certain parts of the scene first, painting the lights, painting the dark areas, okay? How to plan your painting, you know, really important. How to imagine if you could loosen up as well, drastically improve your paintings, you know, and not take 8 years like it took me to get from this to this, okay? And another thing I sort of covered today as well, managing, you know, being able to accept and learn to work with your mistakes, really crucial with watercolors. Not giving up halfway when something just doesn't work out the way you want it to. Understanding color mixing and applying watercolor techniques easily. So that's another thing that I think techniques is such a big thing. You know, when you're adding water onto paper and you're adding the paint onto paper and it just does something that you don't want it to do. You know? Imagine that you could actually learn how to mix colors effectively, learn how much water to paint you put on your brush. And so you can come up with results that are able to be replicated each time. You know, a few more things as well. Imagine if you could feel confident, immersed every time you paint, excited as well. I think, we lose that excitement. We become too goal oriented and forget to just enjoy the process. That's what I was really trying to get you guys to do today, to go through from start to finish. And being able to, just be proud to show your friends and family those beautiful paintings you create each week. I think a lot of us, we lose that creative side about ourselves. And, if you've got a day job, maybe you're retired as well, you want to just find a way to connect back to that creative side of yourself. And it can be difficult at times. Okay? So this is what you'll get. Now, I've got a link to the Watercolor Essentials program, and it's a special on this weekend if you join this weekend. So check in the video description. I'll link it in the video description if you want to have a quick look at it as well. Okay, but this is what you get with it. So what you'll learn anyway. So you'll be able to paint with more confidence, understand perspective in drawing. We covered a little bit of that today. How to draw in the context of watercolors, how to plan and not spend all day with the drawing. I mean, spent about 15 minutes on the drawing, that's all you really need. You don't need to draw every single little rock in. Timing as well. Talk a lot about that in this program. I've even got I think I've got a whole class in there that just talks about using different techniques at different times. Some of the wet and wet work that we did today. Getting in those softer bits of grass and having the contrast of the trees. Timing is so important. If I tried to get in those trees, those sharper trees, while the sky was still wet, you are going to make a big mess. Okay, so you got to wait until later. Brush techniques, water control, another thing that I really talk about as well. So how much water do you need to have in your brush? How do you mix your paints? How much proportion of paint to water? Super important. How much, whether you dry off your brush. We did a little bit of that today with the trees and how I got on some of that light and the texture of the paper. Values or tones, the secret component. And some of you noticed this as well. I noticed in the chat, some of you were saying after the shadows come in, it's just such a big difference. That is the game changer, really. Okay. And I talk about this in all of my, basically in this entire program of Watercolor Essentials. There's 70 sub courses in there. Layering, talk about that a lot. So painting with just 2 layers. Okay. Today we've used, I would say about 2 to 3 layers of paint. It doesn't take a whole lot. And I think when you use too many layers in watercolors, you can start to overwork things, especially as a beginner. Talked a little bit about color choices, but in this program, I talk a lot about that as well, and how to simplify your palette. And of course, vision, something that is so important. Before you even put the brush onto your page, you need to have an idea of what you want to achieve, how you're going to achieve it, how you're going to plan that out. You're going to move some trees, are you going to add more people? Are you going to make it a different time of the day? What do you want? What do you see in your mind's eye? And how do you execute that? How do you create that on paper? Okay. So this is what's included. So you get 70 courses in this whole program, a huge amount of material. So there's landscape, streetscapes, line and wash, portraiture. You also learn how to paint flowers, a few other subjects as well. Okay. And you get unlimited instant access as soon as you sign up. And there's hundreds of hours of these paint-along demonstrations, and you will all know, I think by the end of this demo, you should all know the way that I kind of teach, my style of teaching and how I run through things, okay? So if it's worked for you, okay, these other demonstrations as well are going to be even better because I'm not doing them live. I'm actually spending a lot of time preparing and explaining on the go as I paint as well. Something that you really don't see in a lot of other workshops, because I think a lot of times tutors, watercolor teachers will just assume knowledge and will just paint something like, I'm just putting in a bit of black here, I'm just putting in a bit of color here, but they're not explaining exactly why they're doing it and how much proportion of color to water. So I do that all the time in real time as I'm painting, and it takes a lot of effort for me to do that because I'm not the best multitasker, but I can do it pretty well now. Okay. There's also 100+ replays of all these previous live workshops that I've done. So there's so many, so many different projects that will keep you occupied for a long time. You can learn at your own pace, replay it. You can slow it down if it's too fast as well. And it's all, like I said, step by step, narrated in real time. Here are just some examples of some of the included paintings that are in this program, the Watercolor Essentials program. There's so many in there that I just, at the end of the day, I've just put in a few examples here so that you can see some of the projects that you'll get with it. All right, but yeah, lots of different scenes. I think this one's in Florence. This is an Australian watercolor scene as well. Australian watercolor class that's included. Landscapes. This is a kind of cottage scene that I've included as well. What else have we got? Some boats. This is Normandy. This in France. Another sort of Australian scene. Here's some portraits that I have included in it as well. Okay, if you want to learn how to paint portraits. We've got a lot of these loose scenes, okay, that you see here. There's so much in here. Line and wash is another style that a lot of my students love. I'm doing my next workshop on this, actually. You can see here. I'm using black pen, and I'm going over it afterwards in watercolors. Okay, there are a few more. And lots of different projects. Okay, this is a scene on a class on painting atmospheric landscapes. Lots of wet and wet techniques here to create this dreamy looking effect. You know, more line and wash, more Australian landscapes. It just goes on. There's so much stuff in here. Click through. I think I put probably too many slides in here. Keeps on going on. More portraits. So all of these, everything that you see here is included and more. Okay, so here are a few of my ratings that I get from students as well. So you can see here on Facebook, I've got a 5 out of 5 star Facebook instructor rating. I have partnered with a few different platforms as well that provide my courses to other students. Okay, and you can see 4.51 out of 5 star instructor rating. That I get consistently high ratings. Some reviews as well. The 70 course program that I'm talking about today, this is my own tailored program that I put together on my own platform, and the value that you get out of it is fantastic, because normally each of these courses will sell for between $15 to $30 each. Okay, and yeah, some more student testimonials. Philip from YouTube. I've got a few other people also from other platforms just commenting as well, providing reviews. Couple more here. So if you sign up today, these are a few little bonuses that you will get. So first bonus is that you're going to receive tailored feedback. Okay, we've got a special group that you can join. There's 2 groups actually that you can join, and tag me in the group, ask for feedback on your work. And this is really going to save time. And even message me directly, that works too. Really save time and improve faster. Sometimes there are things that an expert's going to be able to pick up a lot faster than you trying to spin your tires, trying to work out what doesn't look quite right about your painting. Okay, so you'll be able to learn to think a bit more like an experienced watercolor artist. And yeah, that feedback is it's gold. When you're trying to learn something, it's kind of like a hack. It's a little shortcut. Okay? It doesn't take you 8 years to sort of figure things out on your own. So there is second bonus as well. So you get access to a private group that we have, and you can ask access assistance questions as well, get priority support. Also have included the link and access to our private community. So this community has thousands of other students, okay, part of the watercolor mentor group that just posts all kinds of questions, post their work. And the great thing about this is what I was talking about before, finding that inspiration and motivation to paint. Now, when you have a community that you can be part of and everyone's working towards a common goal, you don't feel so alone learning things on your own. And it's really great because I've seen people talk to each other and just make friends with each other. And some of you actually live pretty close to each other in the States and wherever. So, yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Be able to find a friend in there that you can paint along with. And like I said before, you know, the third bonus is just having access to all of my previous live workshops. And you also get access to the future ones as well. I've added links to references and tracing stencils as well, so you don't have to draw. That's something that only you get if you have purchased this program. Okay, lots of different projects in here. There's so many different paintings just in the lives itself. Not to mention the main 70 course program, which I believe has nearly 1,000 videos in there. Okay, so how much does it cost? So normally this is what I sell it for, $497. But if you sign up for today, you're able to get it for $297 US, and it, like I mentioned, it's 70 full courses in there, a couple months of student support that you can access. You know, send me questions via email, or you can send me questions in the group, get feedback on your work as well. That takes up a lot of my time, but I really try and to get back as soon as I can to all of my students. You know, I get questions sometimes in the middle of the night here in Melbourne. Okay, but sometimes just a little comment for myself, or you know, focus on this. You know, draw 100 figures. Okay, the legs are a little bit too short. Try to make the head fit into the body 7.5 times. Stuff like that may help you to improve a lot faster. Okay, get access to the private group, 100 workshop replays as well. So that there's so much included in here. And yeah, I'm going to keep this price up just for this weekend. All right. And yeah, you know, if you're interested, type enroll in the chats if you're interested, and I will send you the link. Linda's signed up as well in the past. You can see her in the chats. I've signed up, but haven't figured out the time here in Oregon. Yeah, you must mean like the live workshops. You've made it to this one at least, but it can be difficult to coordinate the timings here in Melbourne because everyone's sleeping, or I'm sleeping, or it's too early. But yeah, all of these are available on demand on replay as well. So even if you are not available at that particular time, yeah. Miriam's asking, is that around 450 Aussie? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, once you do the conversions, it does the conversion automatically. It should work out to around that much. But yeah, type enroll in the chats if you are interested. If you want to find out more as well, I do have a separate page that I can send you that will give you a little bit of a preview of what's in it. Okay, you can check out this little link as well, and that will give you a bit of some questions as a way to see like the main page and a little bit of a peek of what's inside. Diane's asking, where do I post things to get your feedback in the Essentials program? So there's a few ways that people get in contact with me. So my email address is on the first page of the Essentials program. Let me just show you. Yeah, that's the link if you want to enroll. It's in the chat as well. So go ahead and click the link in the chats if you're interested. I think that's pretty much that last page, but I'm going to switch over actually, and I'll just show you a little preview of what you get in it. Okay, so here you can see, yeah, Diane, there's my email address. I've also got my Facebook page. Not only that, you can join the our public watercolor community and our private community. You can ask questions there. Just tag me. Just make sure you tag me in the comments so that I don't miss out. The easiest way I find people just email me or message me on Facebook. Messaging on Facebook is probably the easiest because I get it straight away. I always check my phone, and you can send pictures on there. Okay, but looking down the left-hand side, you can see these are all the different courses that you get in here. Okay, plus the 100 live workshops, 100 plus live workshops. Donna's asking, is that the $297 US dollars, Aussie dollars? Yeah, it's in US, Donna. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, this is what it looks like when you get in there. So for example, okay, let's have a look at Australian watercolor landscapes, bush landscape painting, for example. Now, got a lot of things running on my computer at the moment, so it's taking a little bit longer to load. Normally it's going to load faster, but I'm streaming, got videos playing in the background. Okay, here's a particular video again, and you can see here painting along and in this sort of landscape. So that's kind of how the platform works. Okay, you can start wherever you want as well. You don't have to start right at the beginning. It's designed so that you can pick out what you want to paint. You know, a lot of the times I think people get a little bit discouraged because they're painting things that they're not really so keen on the particular subject. So I structure this program so that each course in this program, each sub-course can be done independently from each other, can be started in any order. Okay, so if you like boats, you can do these ones. I've got boat classes, I've got some on birds, I've got some on sketching, like line and wash sketching. What else do I've got? Stuff on flowers, but individual ones that just have like a lot of detail if you like to do a more detailed scene. Down the bottom here we got the portraiture stuff and the line and wash stuff as well. Those are very popular. My line and wash classes, for some reason, people really love them. Let's have a look. Yeah, Monica, I've just sent you the link so you can go ahead and check this out. And it's just for this weekend. So if you want to sign up, yeah, that 297 just for this weekend. And yeah, skip through. I'm just going to show you more. And this is one that's kind of a bit similar to today's workshop. So you can see a lot of wet painting, trees. This is actually one of my favorite paintings. I love this painting. And it only took me like 45 minutes, about 40 minutes or so to paint. And given enough practice and following along to my directions in the program, you should be able to do the same. Okay. But of course, in the beginning, to get, you know, with these different brush strokes, it takes a little bit of time to get that into your muscle memory so that you have the confidence to do what I do. Okay, but you can only get there through practice, and not just practice, but intentional practice. A lot of people are practicing, but they're spinning their tires, practicing something that's not really understanding in terms of the process. Righto. Let's have a look. There's a few more chats here. Monica's asking, do you do classes in Melbourne live? I am planning to do some. I've actually reached out to a bunch of venues, and yeah, this is something that I'm planning. Okay, so I've done a bit of canvassing, just so I want to find a place where we can do like a sort of paint and sip kind of thing. Okay, so yeah, so we can make it a bit fun as well. And what have I got here? Jeez, I'm just going through, and that little one just ended. I want to go through and select another video to play. Yeah, so I hope that answered your question, Monica. I will post on my page, my Facebook page, and maybe email out as well when I have those classes available. But yeah, I'm really trying to be a bit picky with the venue, and I want it to be like a nice sort of place as well with enough space. I don't want to have, you know, random people walking through, you know, drunk people walking through and stuff like that. Linda, I'm near Portland, Oregon. Friend me, fellow painters. Yep. And, you know, just as a precaution with this, you know, security, safety and stuff like that, just, yeah, you know, people ask you for personal details and, you know, very personal details and stuff like that online and message you. Just be very careful with that. But, yeah, I mean, just a bit of common sense, really. Let's have a look. What else do we have here? Yeah, Monica. Okay, we've sent you the link, Monica, so you can have a look at that there. If you have any other questions as well, yeah, let me know. And a lot of my students who enroll, Pamela's one of my students. She's in the chats on the YouTube live. Yeah, Pamela posts a lot of her work there as well. Still asks questions, which is great. Donna's asking, what do I do with the thousands of paintings you paint? Do you sell them at all? I'm trying to make a website, Donna. It's I'm still in the process of putting it together where I just put the paintings on there and people can buy them. But I don't try to sell them, but I do. I'm thinking of it. Yeah. So yeah, if you're interested in the particular one, just message me and we can see if we can sort something out. I get attached, like pretty attached to some of these paintings as well, but I shouldn't. I think that's pretty much it for today. Does anyone have any more questions? I'm glad I haven't dropped out again. I need to really check what's going on with this live stream. It's buggered up a couple of times today. Gave me mini heart attacks each time, but we made it through to the end somehow, as always. Yeah, let me know, guys, if you have any more questions. I'm going to flip back to the main screen again just to show you what we have done today. I'm quite pleased with this result. It is, for a painting that took how long? Maybe like an hour and a bit. Looks like the reference. I've really made the light pop out, which is something that I love doing. Okay, and I've changed the composition a little bit, and this is something that I do talk about in my program a lot. Sometimes reference photos are not going to give you the best, not the best, but an ideal composition. Okay, a more interesting composition. That's why I've changed this and added some shadows here in the front. That just creates more contrast between these shadows and the light. So if we didn't have those shadows in here, it would be really lots of light, but maybe too stark here in the front and might be a bit boring. So that's what I've done, added in a few rocks here and there. And yeah, like I'd like the confidence in the brush strokes, and use as few brush strokes as possible. This is where the magic happens. Like a lot of this wet and wet sort of stuff here, and just these little bits of sparkle that happen because you've done one big brush stroke and it's worked out well. So I think that is basically it. So if you're watching along after, guys, and you have any questions, leave a question in the chat. Do me a big favor today as well. If you enjoyed today's workshop, click the like button on the video and share it with a friend. Share it in a watercolor group that you're part of. It doesn't cost you a cent, and it really helps me to continue running these free workshops. I love doing them, and I'm going to continue doing them, but it's the only way that really these days I can get my videos out to people. When I post a lot of these workshops, there's so much competition on YouTube, on Facebook, that unless I actually pay money to promote them through advertisements, they don't really get out to that many people. So if you found today's workshop helpful, you can really help me out just sharing it around. It's the only way that I can get them out, basically. So really appreciate it. And Pamela, love today's painting. Thanks, Pamela. I knew you'd like today's one because I know you a lot of your paintings are based on sort of natural landscapes, nature. So yeah, post in the group, Pamela. I want to see how yours turned out. I don't know if you painted along today, but maybe later if you finish it up. And Diane says, really love your style of painting. Thank you, Diane. Any other questions? I'm going to give you another minute or so, and I will go grab some lunch. I'm starving, absolutely starving. Yeah, thank you all for coming along. I really had fun today. I'm quite pleased with the result, and I hope you guys have learned a lot from today's session. But yeah, again, if you're watching along after, leave a message, and the link to my watercolor essentials program is below in the chats. But apart from that, I will see you all next time. And yeah, Diane says, "Go eat." Yes, I'm starving. I'm gonna go find something now. Okay, catch you all next time. Take care.